From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening, I'm Tim Nelson. Thanks for joining us for the October 3rd edition of Carolina Week.
And I'm Brigida Mack. We're proud to be bringing you coverage of Carolina news and events.
The Progressive Faculty Network calls itself a voice for social justice at UNC Chapel Hill.
A voice now being heard by more people following 2 discussion sections the group organized on campus, the first of which resulted in national media attention.
Carolina Week's Regina Willis joins us now with more on this story. Regina.
The latest PFN teach-in on Monday was another discussion about the terrorist attacks. So far, following the second teach-in, UNC Chapel Hill Chancellor James Measer has not received any feedback. This is in contrast to the reaction to the group's first event, after which Measer got more than 600 emails and 50 phone calls. Most he calls hostile.
I think the anger that's coming results from a deliberate mischaracterization of what's going on this campus by some right-wing zealots out there who put out these websites.
Sites like FrontPageMag.com, which denounced the Progressive Faculty Network teach-in in an article, America's Enemies Rally at UNC Chapel Hill. It describes the teach-in as an anti-American gathering of left-wing fundamentalists. The article urges readers to voice their opinions to Chancellor Measer, who heard plenty.
You would think that this campus was teeming either with terrorists or with apologists for terrorists, and that we're indoctrinating students to hate America. I mean, that's just, how far from the truth is that?
Do I think they're terrorists on campus? Not really. Do I think they're apologists? Absolutely.
UNC junior Michael Burdett co-wrote the front page article.
We brought up an issue with what they said as being stupid, as being absolutely, there was no sources, no proof behind it, being outrageous for the most part. And generally, yes, being very anti-American.
English professor Rashmi Varma is a PFN member who was on the teach-in panel she says was to educate people on the history of U.S. foreign relations.
It's unfortunate that that gets read as anti-American and that people are not able to distinguish a critique of, foreign policy with a critique of the nation or of the people.
Measer says he will continue to defend the right of free speech on campus.
This is a place where you can espouse controversial ideas. We may not agree with your ideas, we may strongly disagree with your ideas, but we will defend your right to express ideas.
Organizers of the teach-in say despite some outside criticism, they received a lot of positive feedback from those who attended. They plan to hold another teach-in October 11th. Tim?
Thanks, Regina. Well, feedback is likely after the university's newspaper, the Daily Tar Heel, publishes an opinion piece from controversial columnist David Horowitz. Horowitz is encouraging all anti-war protesters to stop. NC State and the University of Virginia have already published the Horowitz column, but the DTH hasn't published the article yet because it's waiting for one of its editors to write a response. DTH editor Katie Hunter says it's better to have multiple views.
The idea of running something like David Horowitz's opinion, be it in the form of an advertisement or in the form of an op-ed, is to kind of encourage debate on campus and to, serve the paper's function as being kind of a forum for sparking that type of a dialogue.
David Horowitz is known for writing a controversial column about slave reparations that appeared in the DTH last spring.
The September 11th attacks have Americans wondering if biological warfare is the next step for terrorists. Carolina Week's Renner Vaughn tells us the North Carolina Institute for Public Health is preparing the state to handle that possible threat.
Biology can save lives through new discoveries. But the same advances can unleash biological terror on our population. Educators with the North Carolina Center for Public Health Preparedness are training public health workers to handle possible serious health issues. Responding to a bioterrorist threat is only one of the new center's objectives. Dr. Rachel Stevens.
The overall goal is to work with the nationwide centers for public health preparedness that have been funded by CDC to help get the workforce better prepared for everyday public health as well as for any type of rare or unusual event that might happen.
The center is increasing its efforts to plan local health response training because of last month's tragedy. But preparedness also includes watching for unusual symptoms. Surveillance by health workers is a key element in combating an outbreak of deadly diseases from biological agents. Mary Davis is program planner and evaluator for the center. She hopes the CDC will increase funding so local health workers can learn how to respond quickly to any situation.
We're currently working with the state health department to put together a bioterrorism briefing for the state and local health directors.
The briefing will instruct these workers on how to react to emergency situations, like the attacks of September 11th. In Chapel Hill, I'm Renner Vaughn, Carolina Week.
The Center for Public Health Preparedness is a program at the School of Public Health at Carolina. The program will collaborate with federal, state, and local partners to ensure public safety in any health emergency. In this week's Speak Out, we asked students if they think the country is prepared to defend against biological warfare.
Truthfully, no, I don't think we'll ever be really ready for that, because regardless what happens, there's going to be a lot of innocent lives taken.
I don't think we are. We have in just this area, North Carolina, we only have 2 fire departments that are prepared for biological warfare. One's in Raleigh, one's in Wendell.
I absolutely don't think so. I think that just since it can come from anywhere, it can be put in air conditioning vents, anything. It's just scary.
They could strike tomorrow and we would never know. So therefore, being prepared for such an event like that, definitely we're not prepared.
I don't know how anybody could be prepared for it as a nation, or just, I mean, maybe the military is, but I know I'm not, and I know these guys aren't.
Our sample isn't scientific and shouldn't be taken as a reflection of widespread opinion on campus.
UNC Chapel Hill students are planning fall break vacations, but if airline travel is in the plans, they'll need some extra time at the airport. Raleigh-Durham International Airport is tightening security because of the recent hijackings. All travelers will now be subject to random bag searches, and the National Guard will be at security checkpoints. With the new security changes, there are a few things of which students should be aware. First, there's no longer curbside check-in. You should arrive at least 2 hours before your flight in case of long lines. Remember, your bags may be searched. And finally, say your goodbyes in the terminal because only ticketed passengers can get to the gate.
Drivers traveling down East Franklin Street late at night will have to get used to bright lights, orange cones, and 1 lane of traffic each way. The Orange Water and Sewer Authority is replacing the water main that runs from Plant Road near Bowling Creek down to Fordham Boulevard. OWASA is replacing the main because it's decades old and unreliable. OWASA Public Affairs Director Greg Feller says convenience is key for both OWASA and those who rely on the water main.
The digging and installation of pipes and so forth will begin at 8 p.m. The setup of traffic controls will occur a little bit earlier than that. And then on those nights, the work will continue in the early morning hours, and the work will be completed at about 6 a.m.
The work won't take place on weekends or holidays and won't be completed until this winter.
Coming up on Carolina Week, we'll tell you how one North Carolina community lives up to its reputation as a real-life version of a favorite TV town.
And we'll show you how a group of runners spend their Saturday morning when Carolina Week continues.
For the 1.3 million children living with AIDS, we can do more than just learn the facts about HIV. Through Caring for Kids 101, a campus outreach program, college students nationwide are helping to end this deadly disease. Half of all newly infected people are under the age of 24. Your assignment, get involved with Caring for Kids 101.
Every child deserves the chance to live a healthy life. Support the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation.
Escucha Smokey antes de tratar.
Solo tú.
No juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego. No hay nada perturbable con el asustado a un pobre ratón sin casa en que vivir. Si el hermoso bosque es lo que deseas, no juegues con fósforos, no juegues con fuego.
Solo tú puedes prevenir los fuegos forestales.
¡Fuego!
The clock is ticking, but the UNC bell tower is still silent after lightning struck a couple of weeks ago. Maintenance officials are working to get the bells ringing again soon. The American flag that hangs on the bell tower is making a visual statement of support for our nation. But the UNC landmark, known for its daily bell chimes, isn't making a sound. UNC Chapel Hill maintenance supervisors say that a part must be replaced before students will be able to hear the familiar sounds coming from the tower. The broken part has been sent to the manufacturer in Ohio, and the maintenance supervisor says the bells could be ringing again as early as Tuesday afternoon.
Last week, we brought you the story of Las Abuelas, a group of grandmothers trying to find grandchildren who were kidnapped by a military dictatorship in Argentina 25 years ago. This week, the story of one man who wishes the group hadn't found him. It began in 1976 as a fight against a few thousand armed militants and ended with Argentina's military dictatorship killing more than 30,000 people in 7 years. Of more than 300 secret detention centers set up during the military regime, the largest, and many say the most brutal, was located here, inside the Navy Mechanics School, known by its Spanish acronym, ESMA. Rosa Rosenblatt's daughter Patricia was brought to ESMA when she was 8 months pregnant in October of 1978. A month later, she gave birth to her son. She named him Rodolfo. Rodolfo was stolen, given to Francisco Gomez, a civil servant in the military who falsified Rodolfo's legal documents. Rodolfo's mother, Patricia, was killed. Rodolfo Rosenblatt was raised as Guillermo Gomez, walking the busy streets of Buenos Aires knowing nothing of his past, until one afternoon last year.
I was tipped off about my brother by anonymous phone calls in April of 2000.
Mariana Perez had been searching for a brother she'd never met since she was a little girl.
I knew where he worked, and I went to see him.
She brought him a book documenting the search of the abuelas, complete with pictures of the grandmother's children who were killed by the military.
I looked on page 175, and there was a black and white photograph, and that's when I felt a shock. I thought it was a picture of me, but it was my father.
For Mariana and the abuelas, it was the conclusion of a 21-year search. But it was far from a happy ending for Guillermo, who asked that we not videotape his face.
As far as I'm concerned, the abuelas de la Plaza de Mayo ruined my life.
After Mariana's visit, Guillermo reluctantly agreed to take a DNA test. He says the abuelas assured him his blood would not incriminate the couple he'd called his parents his whole life. But with the results back, the abuelas reported Guillermo's parents, and the couple has now been in jail for months. That's left Guillermo angry, alone, and questioning the abuelas' motives.
The abuelas want to blame, they want revenge, and they want their grandchildren. They want to place blame for the death of their children. They put my parents in jail because they want revenge.
Rosa Rosenblatt is Guillermo's maternal grandmother and vice president of Las Abuelas.
We don't look for revenge. We look for truth and justice.
But later in our interview, revenge seemed to be on her mind.
What I don't tell him, but what I tell myself and I tell you, is that even if I could free his parents, I wouldn't.
She thinks that everything is okay and that sooner or later I'll be able to forgive her. That is the comical part of the whole thing. I tell her not to waste her time because I'm not going to forgive her.
But Rosa and the rest of the abuelas might be rewarded soon. They're nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Callie Tainter and I studied this topic in Argentina with a grant from the Moorhead Foundation. The Hooker Memorial 5K, named after UNC Chapel Hill's late chancellor, helps keep his memory alive. 300 people participated in the Michael K. Hooker Memorial 5K Run Walk this past Saturday. Carolina Athletic Association and Carolina Cancer Focus organized the race. The $4,000 raised will go to UNC's Lineberger Comprehensive Cancer Center. The center will use the money to fund grants for cancer research. The winner of the Hooker 5K, John Paul Igo, received 2 tickets to the Carolina Duke basketball game. And Carolina Week's Kelly Mahoney joins us now for weather.
Yes, it's definitely gotten a lot more humid. When is the fall weather likely to return?
It really does. It feels like summer again, but unfortunately it won't stay around too long. There's a cold front on the way. I'll talk about that in just a second, but first I want to let you know what the weather question is this week, and that is, which weather phenomenon is most responsible for generating damaging hurricanes? Your choices are El Nino, La Nina, Saharan drought, or bad karma. The answer and the weekend forecast coming up just after the break.
I can listen. I can cook.
I can coach.
Kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
I can drive.
I can paint.
I can dance.
A little of your time can make a lifetime of difference.
I can read.
I can help. You can help. Call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313 to find out about community drug prevention programs.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
The Ronald McDonald House is a nonprofit organization that provides a home away from home for families of children being treated at UNC hospitals. Since opening in 1988, the house has welcomed more than 1,000 families each year to stay at this safe haven. The house relies heavily on community support. How can you help? Become a volunteer. Help the house that love built. The Ronald McDonald House, the house with a heart.
Hi, and welcome back to Carolina Week. Well, a hint of Indian summer surprised most of us this week and made outdoor spots like the Rose Garden a great place to spend the afternoon. Above average temperatures, increased humidity, and sunny skies certainly brought back that summery feeling. But the good thing about the beginning of fall is, of course, the changing colors and the fall foliage around here. Now, although we're just in the first week of October, there is already patchy foliage changing around the Triangle area. Now, our normal peak time is actually in early November, so we have a while to wait. But if you head out west to the mountains, there's already a 25% change in color, so that's always an option for a weekend trip. Now, if we take a look at what's going on the satellite map, you can see we're sitting high and dry in North Carolina, and this will be the pattern for the next couple of days. You can see the beginning of a front out here that will be impacting our weather come Friday and Saturday, and you can see that happening on the weather map. As you see, it's starting to pick up some precipitation from the Midwest, which will be ushered down into our region by about Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon. Now, the good news is it won't be a completely major rain event, but Saturday's forecast does look wetter than the other 3 days. Friday, we see some more of those warm temperatures continue, a high of 79 with mostly sunny skies. On Saturday, we see the chance for some scattered showers with a cool down temperature of 67. Sunday and Monday look just gorgeous, though, very fall-like, sunny and a high around 70 degrees. Now, if you're headed out to the beach this weekend, you can expect a chance for some showers Saturday night into Sunday as that front kind of kicks on through. High on Saturday will be about 75, and on Sunday it'll cool down to 70. Now, if the mountains are in your plan for the weekend and you wanted to go check out some of those changing colors, highs on Saturday will be about 68. On Sunday they'll fall to 60, and if you're going to stick around here for the game on Saturday, we'll see a game time temperature of about 67 degrees as they kick off at 3:35 in the afternoon. And you might want to bring along an umbrella because there might be a scattered shower, but all in all, not a bad forecast. So did you give any thought to the weather question?
What are you going to say, Tim?
I'll go with B, La Nina.
Oh, you're so right. Yep. It's not bad karma, it's not El Nino, but it is La Nina. The cooling of Pacific waters tend to generate a lot of hurricanes out in the Atlantic.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, the football team had another big game this weekend at State.
And it seems State fans were ready for anything but a loss.
Well, Carolina continues to turn their season around with another big win in Raleigh. We'll have those highlights, but first, the men's and women's cross-country teams hosted the Carolina Challenge this weekend. Women's runner Shalane Flanagan and Carol Henry tied for the top spot to help the ladies win the race. The men's team did well, finishing second. Carolina Week Sports returns after this.
Is where the wonders never cease. It's where visitors and residents alike can be touched by these things and always remember the embrace of clouds around a mountain peak, sparkling water forever in a hurry, a bridge less traveled, an enchanted wetland forest, and the place where the sun meets the sea.
When you shop in Orange County, your money comes back to you.
Thank you for shopping Orange.
So shop Orange and see what a difference you can make.
Welcome back to Carolina Week Sports. It's been a busy and successful week for the Heels. First, we're going to take a look back at Saturday's game against NC State. The week after a big upset win can often result in a big letdown. The Carolina football team wouldn't have time to let that happen, traveling to Raleigh to take on cross-state rival NC State on Saturday. Defensive lineman Julius Peppers and Ryan Sims had big games last weekend and look to repeat that against the Wolfpack. It was the Tar Heels offense that got started first. Freshman Darian Durant makes the most of his playing time, throwing this pass near a crowd in the sideline to senior Corey Bailey, who comes up with a catch and a touchdown. Carolina up 7-0. The Pack would strike back with a touchdown heave from Phillip Rivers to Devontae Edwards, but the extra point was no good. After a Jeff Reed field goal puts the Heels up 10-0, Durant would hit Bailey again in the end zone to help put the game away. The Carolina defense held up strong against some late state drives to seal the 17-9 win. The Heels are now 2-1 in the ACC and tied for second in the conference. After the game, everyone was excited about the win and what lies ahead.
I'm proud of the way that our team hung tough. It was a tough, physical game all the way through.
To come into NC State, a really hostile territory, and to come off with a big win like this, it really gives us a lot of confidence.
Never a disaster on our part. You know, we were always disappointed at the losses, but we kept our heads up, and we know we have a great team. We're looking forward to being a contender in the ACC championship.
The Carlisle Cup is important to both Carolina and Duke, and competition for the 2002 Cup began this weekend with 4 events. First up was men's soccer at Fetzer Field Saturday night. The Heels and Devils are scoreless at halftime, but Logan Paws, in his first game back from a torn meniscus, puts the ball in the back of the net. 8 minutes in, Carolina up 1-0. The Tar Heel D would hold that lead. Carolina gets 3 points in the Carlisle Cup race with a 1-zip victory against Duke.
I had great doctors and great trainers to get me back, and without them I wouldn't be here. And I just started practicing midweek this week, and it feels good, so I guess we'll keep on with it.
Coming into the weekend, the women's soccer team has allowed a grand total of 2 goals this season. After 5 road games, ACC play began Tuesday night in another Carlisle Cup game, again away from home against Duke. Carolina assistant coach Bill Palladino proves that wingtips can be used on the soccer pitch. UNC lays the shots on early as the Heels persistently pound the Duke goal. It pays off for the Tar Heels' Elizabeth Ball, who scores assisted by Susan Bush and Ann Remy. Duke tries to rally with some offensive pressure of its own, but once again, Ball puts the ball in the net, putting the game away. The Tar Heels win 3-1. Ball believes fitness was the key to the win.
We've been on the road for a while, so definitely they expected us to tire, but I think the last 20 minutes we definitely had more legs than they did, and that's what helped us win.
In other Carlisle Cup action, the Carolina volleyball team downed previously unbeaten Duke, and the Tar Heel field hockey team blanked the Blue Devils, revenging an ACC loss to Wake Forest. Then coach Karen Shelton and the squad took on Richmond Sunday, still beaming after beating Duke. The Heels took charge early on, leading 3-zip at the half. Defense came up big, allowing only 5 shots on goal. Senior Abby Woolley led the Heels with 2 goals as they go on to smash the Spiders 8-0. Next up, the second-ranked ladies take on Wake Forest this Saturday in Winston-Salem. Coming off a big win versus Duke on Saturday, the Carolina women's volleyball team also hoped to beat last-place Clemson on Tuesday. Things got off to a shaky start for the Heels as the Tigers took Game 1. Carolina would then pull together, convincingly winning the next 3. Junior Laura Green led the way with 20 digs and 17 kills. The victory moves the Heels to 12-3 overall, remaining at the top of the ACC at 5-0. Now Carolina takes on ECU this Saturday, and if students want to get tickets to that game, they need to go down to the Smith Center from, I believe, 8 to 5 Thursday and Friday.
That's right. I'm going to get mine tomorrow. Thanks, Ben. Tucked away in the foothills of North Carolina is a small town loaded with Southern charm.
When Carolina Week continues, we'll tell you why thousands of people are visiting this hideaway each year.
Did you know that 1,600 children are infected with HIV worldwide every day? The mission of the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation is to give children a future of hope. The foundation funds pediatric research to ensure that children are at the forefront of every scientific breakthrough. Every child deserves the chance to live a healthy life. Help give a child that chance.
Support the Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation.
You're looking at the bomb diggity numero uno smoke detector. That's me, Seymour Smoke. If you don't have a working smoke detector in your house or apartment, you could end up being smoked. So you gotta make sure you check me out at least once a month. Just push my button here. That sound tells you I'm working. So be cool about fire safety. Tell your moms and pops to have at least one smoke detector.
Gotta be cool. Be cool about fire safety.
This week marks the 41st anniversary of Andy Griffith's television series, The Andy Griffith Show.
Carolina Week's Michelle Muscatello takes us to the hometown of this UNC Chapel Hill distinguished alumnus, the inspiration for Mayberry.
The people of Mount Airy bask in their small-town Southern tradition and pride themselves in living the real-life version of the big television hit, The Andy Griffith Show.
This is a mecca for those fans of Andy and the characters on The Andy Griffith Show. They assume that Mount Airy is Mayberry, and we probably are about as close as it gets.
Every year, Mount Airy celebrates its hometown hero in the Mayberry Days Festival. Vaughn says 20,000 visitors came to town during this year's celebration, and the town was ready. The Visitor Center houses one of the country's largest Andy Griffith collections. You can even rent a room in Andy Griffith's childhood home. Main Street takes you back in time to the black and white days where Mayberry and Mount Airy seem to merge.
One of the more memorable spots on The Andy Griffith Show is Floyd's Barbershop, and even though Mayberry is off the air, Floyd's is still buzzing.
They say it's the most famous barbershop in America, but that's fine with me.
Russell Hyatt is now in the Barber Hall of Fame. He thanks Andy Griffith for making his shop so special, and Mount Airy a place tourists love to visit. The town even has some rising stars, like the 21st century version of Andy's little boy, Opie.
I was down there at the Floyd's Barber Shop, just standing outside waiting for my mom and dad to get their haircuts finished, and then someone thought I was playing Opie.
That was 3 years ago. Now Joseph Wade Barker's role as Opie is almost as established as Floyd's. In Mayberry, Mount Airy, I'm Michelle Muscatello, Carolina Week.
That was a great story.
Sure was. Looks like that little boy's got a future ahead of him.
Definitely. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you for joining us, and be sure to watch next week.
Until then, have a good night and a good week.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.